How many times have you heard this growing up?
They don't make stuff like they used to.
They don't make them like they used to.
They don't make them like they used to.
They don't make them like they used to.
Those mechanical components, they're actually made to break.
Yes.
Brings me to a concept. Have you heard of this?
What is it?
Planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence.
It's P.O., baby! Lots of companies out there intentionally shorten the lifespan of their products.
Michael, they don't make them like they used to.
That said, they don't make stuff like they used to.
Hello, hello. Today, I'm sharing with you the story of how I brought this bandsaw back to life. I'll be sharing the tools and techniques I used and explain why they really just don't make them like they used to. Guys, let's implement failures in our products so that people will, except for the people at the top making all the money from these design flaws, it doesn't make sense. So for some background, I've been eyeing bandsaws for a while, but had not made a move yet. Then one Sunday, while working on my lightning bench, you can check that out in the link below or in one of these two corners, go check it out. Anyways, I was working on this lightning bench and this guy, Dan, he stopped down in the shop and he's like, do you want a bandsaw? I don't have the space for it anymore. And I was like, yes, Dan. Yes, I'd love that bandsaw. He sent me some pictures and I was like, It looks like it's in decent enough shape. Long story short, I did a little bit of research and we decided on $250 that I'd buy this thing for. And he also threw in a couple new components that he had bought, but he had not used yet. So he dropped it off the next day and it worked just fine. But here's the thing. It looked like this thing literally had not been touched in 30 years. Like it's just been sitting in Dan's garage for 3 decades untouched. I just got a new bandsaw. Well, a bandsaw, should I say. And then the more that I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this thing is dusty, it's rusty, it's all of the ease that you could possibly imagine. I was just like, you know what, it's probably worth a little bit of elbow grease that I'd have to put into fixing this thing up to really make it my own. I've done some restoration work in the past, and it's just unbelievably tedious. I literally told myself I will never do restoration work again, but I'll make an exception for this bandsaw. I'm gonna fix it up and make it nice. I'm gonna start by taking it apart piece by piece, and that's exactly what I did. It started off pretty simple. I loosened that, I cut that, got really confused by this, contemplated my life decisions, lifted that, removed this massive rubber band, sprayed some motion lotion to loosen these bolts, assumed the common caveman squat pose of our ancestors to remove these bolts, tried to channel my inner bandsaw to figure out what to do next, almost broke that. I took off the switch box, glanced at the wire situation that was going on back there, and quickly bolted it back into position untouched. There's some things I was just like, man. I gave almost every piece a good pressure washing. I just wanted to get that initial bit of grease, dust, dirt, rust, bust, just, dust. I'm sorry. On the surfaces, come off. Just any of the loose stuff, pretty much. If you're gonna do any refurbishing like this, like very fine detail work, I highly recommend getting these detailer bits. They're just wire brushes. These are lifesavers for getting into the nooks and crannies, but wear something thick, an apron or something, because those tiny metal bits will embed themselves into your clothes and will poke you later. It was like a week later and I was still getting stabbed. Just wear something thick so you're not getting these things jabbed up in you. Also, all of the tools that I'm using, I'll include them in the link below. There wasn't a manual that came with it and almost no online sources on how to go about taking this thing apart, so I was really just winging it. I was recording everything for the video, but also so I wouldn't forget where something went as I was taking certain parts off. Using this polishing abrasive wheel, very satisfying. Put that back together. I finally figured out how to take off the bottom wheel.
Hip, hip, hooray!
For the flat areas, the base predominantly, I used my orbital sander with a medium grit sandpaper to not only sand down the rust, but also to scuff up the surfaces so that the spray paint would adhere better. After getting everything scuffed up and then wiping them down, I brought them outside to start spray painting them. I used this industrial flat black spray paint. I just wanted a paint that would actually like hold up over time for a machine of this caliber, quality. I wanted it to be nice. Although it's a pain in the ass, I do try to keep with the motto, if you're gonna do something, you might as well do it the right way. And yes, I'm a hypocrite because things can never be absolutely perfect. Keeping with that, you can save yourself from a little bit of stress and headache. I literally almost didn't finish spray painting the entire interior because I didn't really want to mess with the alignment of the wheels. That's the thing. I'm totally gonna have to take out this top wheel to get this thing back up in place. To do that, I'm gonna take out that bolt, and this bolt. If there's any changes, I will record it so that I don't forget where something was. So yeah, I think I let it sit because paint does take a while to fully dry. Even spray paint, it's like thin coat, but it still takes time. I think I let it dry for about 2 or 3 days, and then I came back in and I could finally start putting this thing all back together. So that's exactly what I did. I went to Home Depot, I got some new bolts for it to put the base back together. They were just in pretty rough shape. So I got some new ones, and I started to put everything back together, which was honestly more satisfying than any other part. You're getting to the end of the project, you're seeing the fruits of your labor. For all of the metal surfaces, I use this microcrystalline polish, reduces fingerprint, and it doesn't attract as much dust. It also just makes it look better. So I just realized as I was setting this up, I didn't really make it mobile. Everything in my shop right now is like mobile. It kind of has to be because of the space that I'm working in, because it's kind of tight whenever a project gets going. I'm constantly moving tools around. I got to be able to move stuff in and out. So I ordered these caster wheels that are like a crank ratchet, turn back and forth. It will raise and lower them. It will not wiggle or anything like that because it's literally going down like rubber feet. It's too much detail for a caster wheel, but for heavy machinery, I think these caster wheels do a fantastic job. Give me money, whatever company makes these wheels. Anyways, threw it all together, made a few adjustments, slapped the blade back into place.
Now, I know you have photographic memory and 100% remember what it looked like to start, but here's a few clips to be safe. And wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh, wham bam shazam. Would you look at that? That's a much nicer bandsaw. You can tell it's a bandsaw by the way it is. And all of a sudden, for some reason, I remembered that I live on a 4.5 billion year old rock. Just floating around in space. Orbiting a fiery gas giant, also known as our sun.
That's been causing people to squint since the dawn of time. Am I the only one that ever just remembers that? It's a wild thing. I guess it's easier to forget. Anyways, there's always that debate. They don't make things like they used to. And there's truth to that. Older machines like this bandsaw were built to last. And that's why I felt it was worth the effort to fix it up. But newer tools have their perks too. Lower prices and wider availability make them accessible to hobbyists and beginners, which is great if you're just starting out. Sure, they might not have the same durability, but you're not spending thousands on something that only professionals would use on a daily basis. If you're like me, you just might find joy in bringing something old back to life and really making it your own. Maybe you got an old tool, you're like, maybe I want to fix this thing up now with some wire Dremel bits. I do believe you ultimately get what you pay for in a product, or in a tool or a machine, or clothes.
Coffee machines, phones, computers, sweaters.
They all tear or break or like explode way sooner than they used to.
Doing research for this video, I did come across this broader idea. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. Planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence. It's PO, baby!
PO, baby. Manufacturers have lowered the quality of their products for higher consumer buy rates.
There are lots of companies out there that intentionally shorten the lifespan of their products.
It's been around since the 1930s. It's been helpful really only to the companies that implemented it and still do to this day. Almost every product now, it's programmed or built depending on the code or the materials that are being used to fail after a certain amount of years. It just seems like such a step in the wrong direction. If you're not only wasting time implementing those failures to happen in the future, I'm sure while it does boost the economy, at the same time, I feel like just wastes a lot of people's time. Guys, let's implement failures in our products so that people will have to keep coming back again and again to buy the new version of whatever we're making. Except for the people at the top making all the money from these design flaws. Everyone else's time, it doesn't make sense. What's the point of building or creating a product just so that it will fail? You're designing it for that reason. It's unfortunate. Why not just build something to last? And then the chunk of society that has jobs to fix and build more or engineer more of those products, the mass amount of products that are set up to fail. Imagine the time that those creators, those builders, and those fixers, massive group in society, the time that they'd be able to have to divert their attention to something that would actually be helpful and useful for the whole of society and the world. If only there were leaders, CEOs, and average Joes that would be willing to somehow break the cycle of planned obsolescence. Just imagine where and what the world could be today. Thanks so much for hanging out today. My name is Kyle, this is Constant Woodworks, and that was the story of how I brought this old bandsaw back to life. If you have any feedback, questions, drop them in the comments below, and until next time, peace out, Girl Scouts. Started this piece 3 years ago. I'm finally gonna get to make a really nice set of coffee tables. So that's 2. There's been a slight hiccup. Not even close to being cured. Wish me luck. Always a hiccup in a build. This is just it's gonna be a tricky one.
It's just wrong. So annoying. It really is. Okay, toodaloo.